The first day felt like a fairy tale. The sun streamed through the large, arched windows of our new living room, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. This house wasn't just a place to live. It was our dream, the culmination of years of saving and late-night Pinterest boards. My girlfriend, Maya, and I were a team, our shared excitement a palpable thing as we hauled boxes from the moving van. Even Bella, our fluffy tabby cat, seemed to sense the magic, darting from room to room with a newfound energy, her tail a fuzzy question mark in the air. The house itself was a storybook cottage, a small, but perfectly formed, two-story with a lush, green backyard. It was a blank canvas, full of potential. The only oddity was the house next door. It was a mirror image of ours, but it was frozen in time. Renovations started and then simply abandoned. A new roof, some half-painted walls, and a yard filled with weeds and discarded materials. Most notably, the fence was missing between our two back gardens, a weird, open expanse of grass that connected our property to theirs. We didn't think much of it then. It was just a peculiarity of our idyllic new life. We had more important things to focus on, like where to put the couch and how to stop Bella from climbing the new curtains. That first evening, after all the boxes were inside and we'd collapsed onto the sofa, we felt a profound sense of peace. We went out into the backyard just to stand and absorb the silence, to feel the cool evening air on our skin. The air smelled of freshly cut grass and the promise of new beginnings. It was a perfect moment, a shared, silent acknowledgement that we had made it. We were home. Our first night in the house felt like a strange twist in our fairy tale. We were in the backyard, enjoying the last light of dusk. The sky was a bruised purple, fading into the deep blue of night. We were talking about our plans for the garden, imagining flower beds and a small patio set. The conversation was light and easy, the kind that makes you feel connected and safe. Then, Maya went quiet. She stopped mid-sentence, her head tilted, her gaze fixed on the house behind the abandoned one. I followed her line of sight, and that's when I saw him. A man stood perfectly still in a window on the second floor. The room was pitch black behind him, so he was a silhouette, a shadowy figure framed by the glass. He wasn't waving or smiling. He wasn't moving at all. He was just staring. He wasn't trying to hide. His gaze was direct, fixed on us with an unnerving intensity. We felt it, a cold, prickly sensation on our skin, like a physical touch. We tried to talk, to laugh it off, but the words caught in our throats. We felt exposed and vulnerable. We looked at each other, a silent agreement passing between us, and slowly, we retreated back inside. We locked the back door and pulled the blinds, the mundane action feeling monumental. For a full half hour, we'd been under a silent, expressionless watch, and the perfect, peaceful evening was suddenly tainted. We tried to convince ourselves it was just curiosity, but we both knew it was something more unsettling. The next few days passed in a blur of unpacking and decorating. We tried to forget about the incident, telling ourselves it was just a strange encounter and that our new life was still a dream come true. We put up pictures, organized the kitchen, and even started a small garden project, planting a few herbs. Each small act of settling in was a step toward reclaiming our sense of security. The backyard, however, now felt different. We still used it, but we were more aware of our surroundings, our eyes instinctively darting toward that dark window. The men from the house behind continued to cut through the abandoned garden. We'd see them from time to time, a group of 3 or 4, walking casually to the street as if it were a public path. We'd see them on our security camera, too, a fleeting glimpse of figures passing by. We were still trying to be good neighbors, rationalizing their behavior, but a tiny knot of unease was beginning to form in the pit of my stomach. We noticed the strange men would stop sometimes and look at our house as they were walking by. It was too fast to make out their faces, but we got the distinct impression we were being watched. One evening, we were outside, enjoying a glass of wine under the starry sky. It was a quiet night, and we were talking about our weekend plans, the perfect end to a long week. The air was still and warm. Then we heard a sound, a rustle from the makeshift fence separating our yard from the abandoned one. Our conversation stopped. Suddenly, 3 men were just there. They stood at the edge of our patio, having walked straight into our private space. They didn't knock or call out. They just appeared. The feeling of violation was instant and overwhelming. My heart hammered against my ribs. I tried to remain calm, asking in a voice that was a little shakier than I would have liked, "Is everything okay?" One of the men, a guy in his late 20s with a strangely casual smirk, stepped forward. He was holding a large duffel bag. "Yeah, man, just passing through." "Hey, you need any washing up tablets?" he asked, unzipping the bag to reveal a mess of boxes. "Got a bunch. They're cheap." We stood there, stunned into silence. It was a bizarre, surreal moment. Uninvited men in our backyard, offering to sell us stolen cleaning supplies. No thanks," I said, trying to keep my voice even. The awkwardness was suffocating. I forced a laugh, a desperate attempt to break the tension. "Got plenty, thanks though." One of them, a younger man with shaggy hair, actually smiled. "All right, man," he said, and with a collective shrug, they turned and walked away, disappearing back into the darkness of the neighboring yard. We stood there for a long time after they left, the silence in our garden now feeling heavy and sinister. They had acted like they had every right to be in our space. That casual sense of entitlement was more chilling than anything else. The visits didn't stop. They became more frequent, and each time, the feeling of intimidation grew. They would walk into our garden at all hours, late at night, in the middle of the afternoon. Sometimes they'd stand for a while just watching us through the windows. The behavior was deliberate and unsettling. We began keeping the curtains closed, our once bright home now shrouded in perpetual dusk. We stopped using the backyard, our dream of a peaceful garden now a constant source of anxiety. One afternoon, I saw them from the living room window, a sight that confirmed our deepest fears. The men were in the abandoned yard, and one of them was lifting the loose section of fence. They weren't just passing through. They were actively manipulating the property to access a shortcut, and it was clear they were the source of our trouble. The constant sense of being watched was taking its toll. We started to feel isolated and vulnerable. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow, made us jump. As two women living alone, the feeling of being targeted was intense. We felt like we were in a cage in our own home. One day, I was cleaning and looked out the window to see something that sent a shiver down my spine. Two police officers were in the abandoned garden next door. They were lifting that same loose section of fence, examining it, and looking around the property. They didn't come to our door, and they didn't speak to us. They just left after a few minutes, leaving us with more questions than answers. A few days later, a knock came at our front door. My heart pounded in my chest. I opened it to find the same two police officers standing on our porch. "We're here about the men next door," one of them said. The words hit me like a wave of relief. They explained that the men had been evicted from the property behind us due to a long list of complaints. The officer confirmed our suspicions. "They were a known problem in the neighborhood," he said, "not just for you, but for a number of other residents." The news was more than just a relief. It was a profound vindication. We hadn't been imagining it. We weren't paranoid. We had been genuinely targeted. The officer's words lifted an immense weight off our shoulders. The constant fear, the feeling of being watched, the stolen moments of peace, all of it was over. With the men gone, the silence of our home changed from a source of anxiety to a source of comfort. We slowly began to reclaim our space. We had a new, sturdy fence installed between our garden and the now empty lot next door, a physical barrier that brought an immediate sense of security. The first time we sat in our backyard after the new fence was up, it was like breathing fresh air for the first time in months. The sun felt warmer, the grass looked greener. Bella, sensing the shift in our energy, was back to her playful self, chasing butterflies and rolling in the grass without a care in the world. We were finally able to settle in and truly feel at home. Our dream home was finally ours, not just a beautiful house, but a sanctuary once again.